Thank you for tuning in to watch the 10th anniversary launch of our Invest Miami report. You're about to watch panel number 1, Magic Decade, examining Miami and South Florida's stellar decade of growth and the work needed to maintain momentum. Be sure to like and subscribe for more leadership and business insights. Enjoy.
Good morning, everyone. It's an honor to be with you today at Invest Miami 10th Anniversary Leadership Summit. I'm Athlete Edwards, the Executive Director and CEO of Virginia Key Beach Park Trust. It's a true privilege to help lead one of Miami's most treasured landmarks, which reflect not only the past, but the promise of the future. As we kick off today's open panel, Magic Decade, examining Miami, South Florida's stellar decade of growth and the work needed to maintain momentum, I want to take a moment to reflect how far Miami has come and how places like historic Virginia Key Beach Park have played a vital role in that journey. By a show of hands, how many attendees have visited historic Virginia Key Beach Park recently? Okay, wow, it's pretty good. Or in the past year or ever before. For those who are not familiar with us, historic Virginia Key Beach Park is one of the most scenic beachfronts. It's nationally designated historically and environmentally, also recognized by the state of Florida, and a place deeply rooted in Miami's story. In the 1940s, the park served as a training site for African American soldiers during World War II. It later became the first and only beach officially designated for Miami's Black community, August 1st, 1945. Today, the park spans about 82.5 acres and is a home of 3 distinctive ecosystems, mangroves and protective shoreline, a native wildlife that is critical to South Florida's environmental health. We welcome not only tourists, beachgoers, and event organizers, but we also welcome researchers, educators, and students who come to learn, reflect, and contribute. In many ways, historic Virginia Key Beach is where Miami's history, environment, and economy intersect. And that's why we're working to take the next step in evolution by developing a new Black History Museum at the park. With the support, thank you. With the support of Miami-Dade County and our board, we've cleared key hurdles, securing $20 million in grant funding, and now moving toward design and development phases. This museum will serve as a permanent educational and cultural anchor in our city, right here in Miami. At the Trust, we also believe deeply in partnerships, like one here today, whether it's public schools, private sectors, universities, nonprofit, and for-profit sectors as well, from FIU to Mass Academy, Miami-Dade College, JP Chase Morgan, and even international groups like Canadian Consulate's Youth Program. We're bringing together diverse stakeholders to support both the park's mission and Miami Borders goals for education and sustainable and economic inclusion. As Miami continues to attract new residents, new industries, new investments, spaces like historic Virginia Key Beach Park are the more important than ever. Amid high-rises development, we offer a glimpse into Miami that came from before, a natural beauty, cultural roots, and a resilience of its people. And we're meeting in a new era, fresh energy, like today. We are connecting with younger generation, new audiences through school programs, VR, and social media. We're expanding accesses, buildings, awareness, making sure everyone and their longtime locals and recent transplants know that historic Virginia Key Beach Park is a space for them. This past decade, we've been transformative for us in Miami. But as we look ahead and we usher into our 80th anniversary, that's right, we turned 80 this year, we focus on making sure that the transformation is exclusive, sustainable, and rooted in the stories that are brought us here today. Thank you for Invest Miami. I'm truly pleased to be here. Thank you for having me and my team. I'm excited to be a part of today's conversation, and I want to continue working with you to shape what's next to come in this beautiful city, especially in South Florida. I would like to personally invite you and your family to historic Virginia Key Beach Park's 80th anniversary and our museum commencement ceremony, Friday, August 1st. And of course, you're always welcome to come to historic Virginia Key Beach, whether it's for events or some well-deserved summer fun in the sun. Thank you. My name is Ashley Edwards, and I'm excited to be here.
It's great to see everybody this morning. One of my friends at our table commented that they really like events like this. It feels like a homecoming because you see so many people that you don't see every day. So thanks for making it in. Thanks to the panel for participating. So welcome to our opening panel discussion, Magic Decade, examining Miami and South Florida's stellar decade of growth and the work needed to maintain momentum. Over the past 10 years, our region has seen extraordinary growth through population influx, infrastructure upgrades, private investment, and the rise of key industries like finance, healthcare, and technology. But the question now is, how do we sustain that momentum in a time of economic uncertainty and rising demands on infrastructure, housing, and talent? We're joined today by 4 leaders who each play a very key role in shaping this next chapter in Miami. We have Alix Desulme, the mayor of North Miami, Jimmy Tate, the CEO of Tate Capital. We have Yesenia Sanchez, market president at Cigna, and we have Mónica Vázquez, executive vice president of Abanca USA. So we'll start by taking a look back over the last 10 years, keeping on theme with the Miami Invest 10th anniversary. So this is a question for each one of you. How would you recap the last 10 years of Miami in one sentence? You can go in whatever order you want.
Good morning, everyone, and it's truly an honor to be here, especially with my the panelists. In one sentence, I would say, as looking at the lens as an elected official, as a person in this community, I think we have become a global destination. In one word, I mean, if you look at the various industries, but especially our tourism, the shipping and everything. So we have definitely become a global destination.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me here today to speak for you. It was interesting. I heard someone say that they were involved with something that's 80 years old. My family actually started here in the early 30s. So I guess we're over 90 years of development in South Florida. So we definitely have a stake in the game down here, but I'm proud to be here. So I would say over the last 10 years, what would I define? I would say growth and diversification.
Well, good morning. I'm Yesenia Sanchez with Cigna Healthcare. I'm going to make it easy for everyone. Just call me Jessie. Very honored to be here as a panelist, but you actually stole my line. So where I was going was just diverse growth, incredible diverse growth. If you look at us today, we are a melting pot of multiple cultures, multiple industries, and just multiple opportunities to anybody that comes to South Florida.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm Mónica Vázquez from Abanca USA. For me, the key word for what's happening in Miami during the last 10 years is transformation. How the city has able to change the landscape, the innovation, global finance. It's not only tourism, it's now more about the place where everyone wants to be.
Excellent. So one more question for each person on the panel. So in my day job, I'm a lawyer, and we spend a lot of time issue spotting and sort of forecasting what's wrong, and people don't always appreciate that. But, with high growth comes new challenges, from affordability and infrastructure strain to talent attraction and retention. What would you say are the main pressure points that you feel need to be addressed going forward in Miami?
Well, I'll start from the development standpoint. There's several headwinds that we have to deal with. Some we can control and some we can't. The headwinds that are affecting the development world have to do with interest rates, insurance costs, which thankfully started to go down this past year, and high costs of construction. So those are 3 variables that we really can't control, even through our own government, because as Alix said, we've become a global economy, part of a global world, and a lot of our trades and a lot of our materials come from outside the United States. And so some of these things we can't control. So those are three variables that directly impact development. But I would say from a human perspective, I think we've become a victim of our own success. And what I mean by that is we don't have a problem bringing people to the state. Our state sells itself because of no tax, beautiful weather, other, ways about our lifestyle and what we have to offer here. It's a pretty good lifestyle we have. Doesn't take long for people to gravitate to what it is that we've already known and move here and desire to be here. But then what happens is when these industries come and these companies move their companies from, as someone mentioned before, from California, and they bring their employees, they're having a difficult time getting into good schools. They're having a difficult time with affordability because just supply side economics shows when you have limited demand, limited supply and huge demand, your costs go up. So the cost of housing here has hit peaks that are not sustainable for most people. And that to me is a problem. So you talk about a lack of housing and then a lack of affordable housing. And so even though you have all this new development taking place and we have thousands of units coming online, you have something called a rent ceiling. And that's the one variable that nobody's really paid attention to. You can't really afford to develop right now because of where the costs are at. So developers are having a hard time underwriting multifamily developments. And even with CRA money and other grants and block grants and programs, the numbers don't underwrite, and it's a problem. And I don't know, we've offered some suggestions to the legislation and the state and local governments, but somehow we got to figure out how do we bridge that gap so that people can afford to live in all these new developments that are being developed.
And just to add on to what Jimmy just said, I think the most critical part, especially looking at the lens on a public policy standpoint, is the affordability crisis that we are seeing. Infrastructure is definitely important, and I think for the next 10 years, we got to look at, we have older cities, we got older infrastructures, but right now, I think Jimmy hit it right on the nail. The affordability is really, really the problem. Folks cannot afford to live in different places in Miami.
And that tackle to that is also the recruitment process. So when you talk about like talent and getting in corporate America folks in the younger generation, so we tend to recruit a lot from different colleges around the state. It's very hard to get them to relocate just to South Florida just because of the cost of living and the future life that they will have to be prepared for. No different than the younger population today is leaving up north, right, to like the Carolinas and Tennessee, where they're still seeing some economic ability to buy and purchase. It's that population between 20 and 30 and what we do to set them up right and be the future leaders, the future Invest Miami stakeholders in the community.
Yep, I agree with all of your comments, but for me, as you mentioned, for the human perspective, the retention of the talent and the talent is the key, because if you have the right people in companies, in government, in all the responsibility places, the rest, affordability, development, come with them. So retention of the talent is the most difficult thing that we are living in the private companies, as you mentioned, because it's very difficult to maintain people here. People want to be here, but the cost of living is very high, so it's difficult. And this is the key question for try to impulse Miami for the next step. So talent is the key.
Yeah, it's very informative and common themes for each of you. So now we're going to shift a little bit and talk about some current landscape for each one of you in your different industries. So we'll start with you, Alex. So how do you see North Miami positioned within Miami-Dade County to become a leading tech hub in the region? And what partnerships are you leveraging to stay on that path?
Great question, and I wrote down some of my remarks. So North Miami is really building a community of first innovation, and especially when it comes to the tech model, and we are tapped into our diversity, and as well as the creative talent that we have in the city, as well as the foundation of thriving ecotech system that we have. we've partnered with FIU, Florida International University, as well as the Small Business Development Center and local entrepreneurs, where we invest in programs such as making sure the residents are tech ready, jobs training, vocational training in coding, in digital marketing and logistics. So North Miami is trying to position ourselves and prioritize on projects that really connect our residents with the global world, which will be, transform into a much more resilient community when you think about it in terms of that.
Excellent. And the follow-up question that I had is, how do you see what's going on in North Miami fitting in with the greater Miami and South Florida area?
And I think one of the things that we got to look at, we are a regional county almost. I know we like to think about, South Florida, but we get into our little hub. But anywhere outside of South Florida, once you said you're from South Florida, you're thinking it's Miami. But something that happens good in one city, that affects the entire region. So I do think what's going on in Miami, in North Miami, positioning ourselves as the hub tech for South Florida, that's an impact that's going to have not only on Miami, but Miami-Dade County, but the greater region. So anything that happened good in one place, it's really a strength for the entire region.
Excellent. So Monica, I'm going to ask you the next question. Since the bank was established its U.S. operations in Miami 2019, what have been some key takeaways from collaborating with the business and entrepreneurial community in the area?
Yeah, thank you. Banca is one of the largest banks in Spain. It's the fourth. It's 150 billion total assets. So the bank decided to come here in 2019 and open the bank here in Brickell. We are a small bank just now, but we grow a lot and we are part of the growing of the city. The most focus that we have is commercial real estate, C&I, project finance, trade finance, and also personal banking. The key for us to grow very fast is to try to integrate very quickly in the community, be sure what the community needs. This is an international community, and there are a lot of talent companies and people that want to grow, and the bank has the mission to support and build bridges between Latin America, US, and Europe. And this is something that we find like our principal main business here. And we are so happy to be part of the growth here in the city.
Excellent. And that was actually my follow-up question is, how have you seen Abanca's, its role in the city and the county's economic diversification over the past half decade?
I'd say that the principal role that we have is to support companies for growth here, especially international companies. We are specialized in multifamily commercial real estate, C&I industrial, project finance for infrastructure, trade finance. We are a small bank that with a very big capacity of liquidity for lending, and it's something that helps us to make grow fast and support medium and big companies here. So I would like to think that we are part of the transformation of Miami.
Excellent. Jesse, in your interview with Invest, you shared the need for innovation in serving a diverse range of generations in healthcare. What are some programs you've offered to expand access to healthcare?
Yeah, so when you think of healthcare today, right, first of all, it's like a bad topic, right? So insurance, not seen as easy. And what we've been trying to do for the last 2 years is invest in technology to make it easy, reliable, accessible. And also, again, treating the community of South Florida to be able to access it appropriately. So our website, very proud, was completely converted also into Spanish and with access to multiple languages. In terms of easy accessible, who here does not use an app to order something, whether it's Uber Eats and things like that? Technology has continued to evolve, and technology is what we all depend on to get a car ride. And so we wanted to add that technology to our own app. So we've adapted our provider directory to have the mobility to have a cost transparency tool what we see a lot in folks concerned with healthcare is, what's it going to cost me to go to this doctor? What's it going to cost me to go to this provider? And so we wanted to have that access easily available to the member and to the end user. So we've adapted cost transparency tool within the app to look at providers, along with the ability to do just like you do in Google, right? With the restaurants, you get reviews, their external reviews, and what that doctor provider provides. In addition, we've also expanded our ability to get access to care after COVID, even before COVID, right? The state of mental health in the US is very difficult. And after COVID, it expanded itself. What is different now is that folks are willing to get help. Now, not everybody is ready to go to a brick and mortar building. So we have expanded the virtual care mental health capability from Talkspace to Headspace, and one particular one called Alma. And again, what we're trying to get to is also provide virtual providers that are diverse for the community that we serve, which is very key. And the last little technology piece that I'm proud about that we've done is just like you see a pizza tracker if you order from Papa John or Pizza Hut and things like that, you know that you ordered your pizza, then you know that it's being made, and then you know that it's being at some point on its way, right? Well, there's a horrible word in healthcare that everybody hates, which is called prior authorization, right? And everybody's like, where are we? What's going on? Well, we created a prior authorization tracker. And basically on the website, you're able to see, number one, that the doc sent it. So have we even received it? Then, where are we? Is it being reviewed? What else is missing? Are we getting data? And then from that point on, we're able to validate, and the member has some ability to see where their care is at. So again, what we're trying to do is make it easy, accessible, and reliable for the member and the end user.
That's excellent. So one follow-up question for you. How do your team's goals align with what we perceive as Miami's goals as its population continues to grow?
We've been adapting. So for the last 5 years, we've been adapting. If I look at the technology and I look at the programs we have offered today, it is and what we offer in South Florida is very unique from what is offered in Tennessee or the Midwest or Mid-America. So we've been adapting from our ability to also go out there to the provider community. In South Florida, we do something differently that's not done in other markets, which is we talk to our providers about the literacy of healthcare. So I think during my interview, I talked about a word called intoxicado. So for anyone that speaks Spanish here knows that you might think intoxicado means you're intoxicated. But depending on what region you're from, that might mean something different. So if you're from South America, it might mean one thing. If you're from Central America, it might mean another thing. And if you're in the Caribbean, completely different word. And so we want the provider community to understand the literacy. So when they're seeing a member who's Hispanic, they don't think that he's talking about having a hangover. He's probably talking about having an allergy, because the medications for either two are very different. And so that literacy is part of the campaign that we've been doing to just consistently help the community be able to serve the members we have.
It's excellent. Very forward thinking. Excellent. So Jimmy, given all the development Miami-Dade has witnessed over the past decade, how are the projects that you've been leading creating more urban spaces that are not only luxurious, but also functional and community-based?
Thank you. Good question. Look, the development is a development. It's bricks and mortar. And so the idea is, how do you differentiate your development from everybody else? And how do you create something that is beneficial, not just to the developer or the people that live in your development, but how do you create something that expands and transcends to the community? And so we look at the community, and that's how we try to think outside the box. And Alex will tell you, we don't wait for the community or the commission or the board to come to us. We go to them and say, how can we help? How can we make your city better? And what can we do to make the lives of the people less fortunate in your city achieve some level of success that maybe your city can't give them? And so those are the types of requirements I think are incumbent on responsible developers and responsible development. So, people say, what does your development do? You got to think beyond your development. You got to think community. You got to think, how do you give back, not just take? And I think if every developer would start to have that mindset, we will be a better community. We will be forward thinking. We will be embracing each other and finding solutions to problems that exist in all of our communities. We're not insulated just because we have beautiful South Florida and there seems to be lots of money and growth, and we seem to be on a different path than the rest of the country. Every time there is, recession or an economic crisis, I don't know if you noticed, but I'm going to tell you, and it's factual, and there's a lot of facts and data to prove this. We're usually the last to dip and first to come out of it. So that's because of our resiliency. So we already have the infrastructure in place to be successful. Now we need to take that success another level, think outside the box, and help our community as a whole. And so I'm going to give you 2 examples of how we did that. One is North Miami. In this particular case, the city had on their horizon one of their 10-year objectives to build a $35-40 million recreation center through the Parks and Recreation for the community. Obviously, they didn't have the budget for it. Every city right now is on a tight budget. And Johnson & Wales left, and they had a beautiful, best-in-class recreation center with a state-of-the-art basketball stadium with stadium seating, locker rooms, men's and women's, classrooms, facilities, entertainment areas. It was beautiful. And one of the city commissioners and the mayor said, listen, we need to get our hands on that. Can you help? So I knew the developer that bought the entire package from Johnson & Wales. I said, you need to do something for the city. Let's take this property that really doesn't have much value in its current state to many people. Obviously, some schools wanted it, but I said, give it to the city. And he said, Jimmy, I can't afford to give it, but we'll give it for a certain price. And the price was $11 million. And I said to the city, here you go. And they were great, but they didn't even have the budget for the $11 million. Fast forward, I don't need to get into all the politics. We purchased the building for $11 million. We created a 10-year structure for the city to pay a 10% rent, which is equivalent to 10% on our money. And we gave the city the opportunity to buy back the building at our cost. Okay, so it doesn't take a lot of, financial geniuses to realize it was not an economic boom for us. It was just an altruistic move that we can recapture our money and do something good for the city. End result, the city now has a world-class rec center. They use it. Now they've expanded out of it. And one more example, we're doing a $2.5 billion mixed-use, multi-million-dollar development in Fort Lauderdale. I know it's outside of our venue, but just another example. We offered, city didn't ask, we set up a trust fund where a fraction of every dollar that we sell is going into a trust fund. The initial funding is going to be approximately $6 million. We broke it into 5 classes, 5 silos. Nobody can touch it. We're going to set up an independent trustee for each one to deal with homelessness, to deal with sustainability and resiliency issues, environmental issues, a STEM program in the West District to help those less fortunate so that they learn some basic skill sets. And there's one other. But the point is, you got to think outside your box. And you need to give back to the community you develop in. And it doesn't just have to be in the development. Thank you.
And it sounds like that reconciles with the pressure point that you identified earlier in terms of some of the challenges that we're facing in the region. I'm curious as to, whether you see other developers sort of taking that tact and how we can, and the people in this room can encourage that type of situation.
So the way we try to get other developers to do is to lead by example and not just talk. So when other developers see action and they see that it's fruitful for us and that cities accept us and want us to develop in their cities because of how we give back, then I think those actions upon us and the results we're getting and the entitlements we're getting, other developers have to ask themselves, why is Tate getting those and we're not? And so all they have to do, when they call us, I say, because we give back. And then, that's a good idea. And I also go to the cities and I said, listen, if a developer doesn't want or doesn't even think about it, I know you can't put a condition on a site plan, but you need to start figuring out ways to get this message out to the community because it's important. We're all in this together. We're either all going to swim together and rise together, or we're all going to fall together. So it's incumbent on all of us. city leaders, developers, healthcare workers to figure out solutions so that our community continues to rise and be the best place in the world to live.
Right. So 2 last questions for each of you as we look toward the future. So the first is, imagine we're looking back from 2035. What decision, investment, or innovation made over the next few years will have been most critical to sustaining Miami's success?
And this is a great question. I think the previous question, when we talked about the affordability, what's happening right now, now you're looking at the future. Without a doubt, it's infrastructure. So in our infrastructure, we have to make sure that it's equitable. You know, I think Jimmy talked about being resilient and forward thinking. So looking back, we have to look back and think about, did we make the right choice in our infrastructure? So.
You know, I'll lay onto that a little bit further. I think that, and I agree with Alex, it's hard to look back on a future with technology growing as fast as it is. I have no idea what we're going to look like in 10 years, and I don't think anyone else in this room does either. In fact, I don't think parking will be an issue. I don't think transportation will be an issue because I know technologies that are already being brought to our country sounds Jetson-esque, but it's true. We're going to be having flying taxis and teleports all over the place. So I think that's going to mitigate some of our traffic issues and infrastructure issues. But I just think, again, if we could focus on the human side and we can focus on the environment and sustainability and things that we see that could hurt our environment, which obviously affects our sustainability and our ability to live here. If we focus on those things, I think everything else will work out.
Yeah, so very similar. So I do see the Jetsons, both in healthcare and in just the life, right? So think of a world 10 years from now where your doctor's not really in the room with you. You'll see technology that's already being developed where you literally have like little thing put in your ear and there's a doc looking at what's inside your ear from somewhere else. Think of also when you see what we're seeing with healthcare today. What I'm very optimistic about is the population today that's all farm to table. So the cancers are there. We have to continue to adapt. I love to see folks running down the streets and walking. That's the future, is engaging the population to take better care of themselves, to think twice about what they're eating, what's in your food, because ultimately that's what's causing the healthcare crisis that we're seeing. You're look at us as a country and you look at South Florida versus other developed nations, the cost of care here and what we're eating and what we're bringing to the nutrition has a huge impact on healthcare. But I'm cautiously optimistic that I'm seeing way more folks looking at protein, looking at what they're drinking. You never saw 10 years ago folks walking around with water, a little jug. Everybody is now conscious, and that I see in the future being a little even more different than that.
That's all.
Thank you. Very similar infrastructure, talent, affordability. But the good thing is that I'm saying here in Miami something that I never seen in other places or cities. First of one is the strong sense of success that people has here. People is very open to make partnership, to scale together. And this is something that is not always happening in other places. And the second one is the strong sense of community. For that, I think we are ready to support the growth of the city and continues to be a place where people want to be, because when you arrive here, you feel that this your community, your city, and this is something very special. So I would think that when 10 years after I come back and say that we are everybody that was here today, will be part of the growth and will be part of the success of the city.
So last question for each of you. We've talked about a number of challenges the city is facing, and I think everyone is here today in part because we're also optimistic about Miami and what's to come. So last question I have is, what gives you the most confidence in South Florida's ability to remain a top-tier region for business and for quality of life?
To answer that real quick, I think if you look around this room, and this may sound political, but it's not, I honestly think it's our people. If you look around the diversity, I would say that's our strength, that's our secret sauce in South Florida, in the magic cities. The diversity is the different businesses and how we embrace, and the way we are embracing AI, we are embracing technology. We're trying to, and I think if we talk about the futuristic looking forward, any community, any region that embraces these type of forward-thinking strength will definitely be on top.
I'm going to agree with what Jesse said earlier. We're a melting pot, and we're a melting pot of societies and culture and people, and that's what makes us unique and differentiates us from everybody else. And we've been able to be nimble and figure out how do we all work together and find solutions so that all of our communities can achieve some level of success within South Florida, coupled with our weather and our tax structure and our pro-business, mentality. I think that South Florida has a very bright future, and I, for one, don't plan on going anywhere.
Me either. Jesse?
Echo everyone's comments. Just look at what happened in the last 10 years. We have folks from California to New York to the, Seattle markets moving here. I thought a hurricane would take them away, but they're all staying. And I'm happy they're all here, but they're all coming and no one's leaving. And the amount of diversity that we have here is what makes us so unique. We are fortunate to be here, and come December, it's not going to be cold.
Yeah.
So they're not leaving. So we are going to be optimistic because we're going to get through this. And like you said, there's going to be the future world of the Jetson cars with some great healthcare to get our folks to stay longer and healthier, way past 70 and 80.
I'm also very optimistic of the future of Florida, Miami, because the key is the human, the talent. And here, people is used to live in the face of disruption. Challenge is the usual day, and its innovation, its capacity of very quickly adapt to the changes. So I'm very optimistic that Miami will continue to grow and be like a star.
Can I add something real quick? I know when we mentioned the Jetsons cars, some folks started to laugh. The idea, it's here. Last year, I served on the TPO board, and every year we as a board, we go on a trip, and we decided to see what's happening in Europe. And one of the places that we, most of the county commission was on this trip, we actually went into a facility in Germany that's already have the technology. They told us we couldn't talk about it. We signed some papers, but a year later, then they sent us the stuff. So it's actually here in Florida is one of the state, I think it's California, New York, and Florida, not South Florida, that these flying cars, and I got into one of them. It's already here, and it's going to be here for the FIFA for next year in Florida. Now they're looking at how do they connect it with last minute miles, with Uber, how you could get it. And it's something that's supposed to be for all of us regular people to afford, to help with the traffic and what's happening. So it's here.
Exciting. Well, thank you all. I think this was very informative. I hope everyone enjoyed it.
Yeah, well, listen.
Thank you.